Well, there you have it. The Liberals have finally achieved net zero, except it's zero when it comes to integrity, zero when it comes to honor, and zero when it comes to morality. That's the net zero they've achieved, not so much in the other world. We got lots to talk about today, and some of the stuff is just like, I can't even believe that it's coming out of their mouths. It's they used to say from the mouths of babes, but this is from the mouths of the deceitful. So much to talk about today, and beautiful day though. Let's get into it. It is Friday. It is our last show of the week. Let's fire this thing up.
Welcome to the Really Big Show with Czek and Iain Burns.
Apparently, I'm Czek, and the other guy, Iain Burns, managing editor out there in the nation's capital. Beautiful day in the Okanagan. Look at the traffic moving there. There was a school bus, not electric though, that just went by. And we're going to talk about electric school buses in a bit, but beautiful day here in the Okanagan. How's it looking out there in the nation's capital?
It's gray, very gray.
As they're all partying like it's 1995 in the beautiful city of Montreal. And we're going to have a little clip for those that love him or love to hate him. Justin makes a comeback today as his party of, wow, like I'll just say wow. But you're going to be absolutely blown away with what's going on today. And we do thank you for joining us. We love the feedback in this community, the comments. I mean, comments are great. We welcome them. And if you can share this on your Facebook, as we're live, that would appreciate it. We're still blocked according to the Online News Act, the Liberal scheme, and it's almost coming up on 3 years. So if you could share it on your Facebook, that'd be appreciated. It's the Liberals spending money right now in their elections on Facebook while they continue to block us. Wild, isn't it? But we're going to kick it off with the economy because that's what really matters to most people. And we got some more numbers that dropped this morning. And BC gets to be the worst. BC's unemployment worst since 2016. National rate's stuck at 6.7. And not much movement in there, basically flat. How's that? Flat. But some of the bigger falls from grace there is the unemployment numbers in London. Huge jump there in London, eh? From 6 to 9.1. Kitchener, Cambridge, Waterloo, 8.6. Like these numbers are terrible. This is all Toronto stuff, right? 8.5 in Barrie. Toronto, 8.1. Oshawa, 7.9. Kelowna at 7. And Quebec must be doing something right, eh? They only have an unemployment rate of 2.6. That's where all the money goes, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, politically, I guess they're doing something right.
And this is the graph that tells a lot of tales here. It's this our youth, 15 years and older, unemployment rate, and the dotted line there is what the average was, 2017 to 2019 average. So unemployment way above averages. And if you look at youth, 15 to 24 years old, that's that one on the left there. Oh, sorry, the right, top right. That number.
Bottom right, though, as well. Look at that. That's peculiar. Look at how far back that trend goes of increasing employment among 55 and older. And now it's gone down. What's going on there? Retirements, I mean, is my assumption that people are just saying, screw this, I'm off.
Yeah, they're leaving
I'm
the
going to
workforce.
move to Florida.
They're leaving the workforce, yeah. But those are...
That's not a good time.
Those numbers for our youth, that's the disturbing one. That's absolutely disturbing when you look at it from a youth perspective. Because that's the future of Canada, right there. The future of Canada. And then, the economy not doing well. We can show you chart after chart. And we have showed you chart after chart. And Canadians, this is a repeat of the story, this time Bloomberg doing. Canadians rank cutting fuel taxes, according to a poll now, as the #1 way to offset the higher gasoline prices. Now we've had the Economist say it, and a poll says the Canadians want it, and we're still getting from the Prime Minister and his gang, we're watching it. What are you watching? We asked that question yesterday. What are you watching? How much pain should Canadians feel before you decide to stop watching and start doing? That's a good question, isn't it?
I mean, there is plenty of fiscal room, but it would mean making a somewhat difficult decision as far as the Liberals go. But there's lots of room. I mean, it's amazing how inexpensive it would actually be to cut gas taxes in comparison to some of the boondoggles that they're pursuing. So the option is very much there. Whether they'll take it or not is another question, because it would require work. They would have to get their calculators out, have to get the abacus out.
It would have to actually be something that is done for the population as a whole, which I can't think of anything done for the population as a whole yet by the Liberals. Can you?
We removed the consumer carbon tax because it had become too divisive.
Somebody's saying that our connection's chunky.
Everyone's saying our connection's dodgy.
Seems fine on our end, though. We went just... Somebody's saying, I believe it's YouTube. I don't know if you can check something. I'll check another one and see if that sounds... And it says my sound sounds like max headroom. Was that a good thing, or is that my audio just wild?
Means you sound dodgy, yeah. But I've connected to our stream, and it looks fine to me.
Somebody just said it approved for them too, right? So, how's my audio? Anybody? Everybody? Anybody? Our tech budget, about this big compared to the CBC's, right? Our tech budget, pretty small. This picture here, though. What's the worst word comes to mind for you?
I have lots of words, but I don't want to dirty the waters. Cheeky.
Dishonorable. Slap.
But isn't it interesting? I hate to be the guy that does it, but nobody else is going to do it, so I'm going to do it. But look at the Tories. We've got from left to right. Okay, I'm going to pick three. You've got D'Entremont, Généreux, and Gladu. All French names. Why is that? And obviously Michael Ma. It's Chinese now. But what's going on? Why like when Marilyn Gladu went, I was like, okay, that's 3 out of 4 now had French names. Like, Généreaux's name in French means noble. Did you know that? It's like associated with the nobility, the good fellows. What is it? Are they just sort of like genetically, ancestrally drawn to the mothership of the Liberal Party? It's very, very intriguing. I mean, what are the chances of that happening at random? I wonder if we have anybody that does probability, any probability experts watching this.
Again, just look up what democracy means in the dictionary. I wonder if any of these have looked it up. These people here have looked it up, where the vote is what separates democracies from other forms of government. And they said the vote doesn't matter. The vote doesn't matter. Yeah. Lady Jeannoun. People have been saying that, but say this clears up. Ian's got it good, so it seems to be good on our end here. So I don't know what's going on with the connection. But watch this clip here. This is like rock stars walking in, and look who walks in with them like crazy. Right there was the walking in with the unworthy, the worthy. Are they the elevated ones?
New signings. They're showing off the new signings that they've acquired, the new acquisitions.
The GM of the cheating hockey team walking in with a couple of cheating players. Hey, just like, look who we got.
And what did those contracts cost? Is the question. Everybody's saying we should restart the show. I don't know if should we do that? Is the Desert Fox able to offer his expert advice?
But are you getting it clear, I guess, is my question to you, Ian? Is it working for you?
When I go on YouTube here, it's totally smooth and fine.
Like I'm
yeah.
watching
I don't
it
know.
too, because I watch it with the stream, and it seems completely fine to me as well.
Yep, it's HD. You can see my badly tied shirt and tie in HD, crystal clear.
Why don't you guys run for prime minister? We might have to, I guess, but they're going to have to drive it into the ditch a little further. And I don't know how much ditch is left right now. Where I think if you're driven in a cornfield or a wheat field in Alberta, when it's up over the hood and you can't see where you're going, I think that's what's going on right now with the Canada. We're just driving around. Nobody knows what the heck's going on. I don't know. We're gonna kill one of the other streams and see if that helps. But again, I'm watching it. It seems really good. So I don't know what to say. So everybody, we've got 4 people saying it's really good, and then some other people saying it's good. So it might be just internet connections out there in the internet world, or the liberals and the Chinese government have decided to put the choke on this channel. We got another clip here for you. What do you watch this one here?
This is Mark Carney, the Prime Minister, arriving at the Liberal Convention in Montreal, and that is Marilyn Gladu, the Conservative Party member who joined the Liberals yesterday. Let's just listen.
That's good. That's good enough. It's just what I wanted you to see is how CBC is just like, and this is Marilyn Gladu. She's just coming in now, just like, oh, and there's Michael Ma. Applause for everyone.
It was like the Olympic team cheering, like coming to show off the medals or something. It's like, there's Marilyn Gladu, 1 gold for defection.
And then we've one of the reporters wasn't having it though. I guess there's some people out there that actually have a shred of common sense left and decency. Listen to this question here.
Right now, you seem to be saying your constituents voted for this and the Liberals. The first person we talked to yesterday at Sarnia couldn't believe it. They called you a turncoat. They couldn't believe what you had done. And you're telling us that they want this. I just don't buy it.
Well, all I can say is that I've been listening to my constituents since last summer, and this is what my constituents are saying. This is what they want, and certainly it's going to be good for the riding. We're going to receive the support we need. It's going to be good for the country. I have experience to help build it, and it's good for me personally.
Hey, and it's good for me personally. Listen to that, though. Since last summer, she's been listening, so that was just right after the election. So she ran as a Conservative, and then her constituents would say, why, it's good that you ran as a Conservative, but we want you to be a Liberal. Like, who believes that stuff? And the reporter actually pushing back. About time somebody pushes back, saying, I don't believe this.
Yeah, but why? Why are they pushing back on her in particular?
Yeah, well, they don't like her.
Exactly. And why do they not like her?
She's got views that are not acceptable.
Exactly. Because she is very, very slightly, moderately, somewhat little pinky finger to the right on certain social questions. And because she supported the truckers during the protests in Ottawa, and because she decided, how dare she, to use her own wits during the COVID crisis to start asking questions at a time when you weren't supposed to ask questions. So therefore, she is the ideological enemy of the Ottawa Press Gallery. You have to get this into your heads. They're looking at her as an enemy. She's like a rat who's got onto the ship, and they don't like it. Look how they didn't put this kind of pressure on the other ones, did they?
Not Dr. Yeah.
Indeed. And it's times like that where they just reveal their prejudices over and over and over again. And they still seem to think it's a secret or something like that. They still seem to think that we don't see them. But that's the reason that we're finally having a few slightly difficult questions being asked of one of these defectors. But I'd also say, I just want to take the opportunity. I know she's like public enemy number one in the universe right now, but I just want to sort of like actually give her credit and say, well done for actually facing the music, unlike the spineless coward Matt Generou and Don Tremont, as a matter of fact, and Michael Murray and all of them. She's not like that. She clearly has a larger set of cojones than any of the other defectors. She's left her Twitter completely open. She's still posting on Twitter. She's writing, she's writing posts on social media. She's making herself somewhat available. I mean, I would like more than that, but she's still doing it. She's got the, she's got the fortitude to stand there and actually explain herself, which is so much more than the others did. So you have to I know that's like a lot of people probably don't want to hear a positive thing said about someone like this, but she's obviously got something. There's something about this woman that she's willing to do at least that.
We are streaming on Rumble. Did we keep it on Rumble? Is it?
No, we're on YouTube and Facebook now. For now.
You killed the Rumble? We're usually streaming on Rumble, though. Can you restart Rumble? Well, we'll work on it here. But everybody seems to think it's much better now. So anyway, but is there a way to kick Rumble back on or not? Yeah. But this is the guy that obviously recruited her. And this guy has also had a storied history of doing some kind of backroom shady deals. And one of those shady deals got him fired before. Let's listen in on why this shady guy got fired at the CBC.
The host of Power and Politics and the House was taken off the air Monday after CBC managers became aware of information in this Toronto Star report. It alleges Solomon partnered with art collector Bruce Bailey and used his journalistic contacts to broker art deals with prominent people like former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney, who appeared on his show, and former BlackBerry co-CEO Jim Balsillie, with whom he interacted as a journalist. The report claims Solomon collected a 10% commission on sales he helped arrange and was paid hundreds of thousands of dollars over 2 years.
Pretty good deal there for having Solomon there. And he knows how to broker backroom deals. He's experienced at it. He also, after he got fired there, went to CTV, and then he ended up at Eurasia Group, where Mark Carney's wife works. And then when Mark Carney ran, Mark Carney pulled in his little minion and said, you can be the head of AI. And also now he's the backroom guy that's bringing in none other than Marilyn Gladu. Who does art deals like that? Who gets hundreds of thousands of dollars in art deals? Why do these people doing art deals? Wonder why, eh? Hunter Biden did a lot of art deals.
Yeah, Hunter Biden and other people like Hunter Biden have also written books that nobody wants to read, but mysteriously are bought en masse. Gigantic
large
bulk
sums of
orders
money.
worth millions of dollars.
Large sums of money. Isn't that
Weird,
wild?
isn't it? Weird how you'd write a book. Nobody wants to read it. Nobody talks about it. It makes no impact on the world at all. And yet, like, millions of people, or millions of copies are sold. How does that happen?
And then
Could
you
that
also
be-
sell
Could that be the
art.
C word?
You were selling art for millions of dollars as well. And then all of a sudden, when Pops isn't in the running the show, nobody wants to buy your art. You probably couldn't even sell it at a weekend fair. Wild. But
Yeah.
the art
Mysterious,
dealer,
isn't it?
the art dealer here, look at the introduction from the art dealer.
For Marilyn Gladu.
That's good. He's raising
I love
up
the
the
music.
trophy. Hey, I got one. I brought a fish in.
What he should have said is, "I'm glad you could make it."
Glad
Should have
you
punned
made
on
it.
it.
How much? And then he looked over at his boss. How much commish on this one? What did I get on this one? What's the commish?
He got his very own Picasso.
Nice. High morality, high something. And here's her speech. Listen to this and tell me if this little bit of throw up doesn't come up in your mouth here. Listen.
These are the priorities that my constituents want. that Canadians share, and that the Mark Carney Liberal team is delivering on. I know how to look past the usual politics to step up for the constituents who elected me as part of this strong new team in government. These are the priorities that my constituents want, that Canadians share, and that the Mark Carney Liberal team is delivering on. I know how to...
That's funny. I did laugh there at that. I'm hearing myself echo, by the way. Technical difficulties, anyone? But yeah, that was funny. But at the goal as well. I mean, I praised her, sort of half praised her earlier for having the, having the self-respect or whatever you want to call it, to come out and actually face the people a little bit. But if she's coming out and that's what she's saying, I mean, that's just outrageous, isn't it? What my constituents, I'm doing what my constituents said. They've sent me here and they wanted me to defect. Well, she didn't say it like that, but indirectly said that. They've been telling me that this would be a good thing.
Diana says, happy birthday to Lady Genuine. Genuine? Happy birthday.
I think it's just genuine, but her name is presumably Jen. So it's a pun. We've got a pun stack.
Punny. Happy birthday. And then we got one more here from the liberal circus here. Oh, actually, we got a couple more, but let's play this one here.
He's driving forward, fast-tracking, building, nation-building projects, diversifying our trade, strengthening our defense, combating crime, and building more homes. These are the priorities that meet this moment for our country. These are the priorities that my constituents want, that Canadians share, and that the Mark Carney Liberal team is delivering on.
Building homes faster? No. What of that is true? And it's like
just ask her a few weeks ago, and she'll explain why all of what she's saying today is bollocks. She's one of the best. She's put forward some of the best counter arguments for what she says now. So look no further than her own words.
What to believe, I guess. What to believe. What to believe.
I think the only sensible thing to believe, if we had Bertrand Russell here, Bertrand Russell's resurrected corpse, and he was telling us about how to approach this through logic in the philosophical sense, I think he'd say the only thing that we can realistically conclude here and believe with any confidence is that the Liberal Party stands for nothing but itself. That's it. All it stands for is power. It has absolutely no principles. Hence, it can attract somebody like this who can change, like overnight, turn into a progressive, having previously been moderately socially conservative. What else can we take from this? The Liberal Party stands for nothing. It has no values. And it's led by a man who wrote a book called Values, which is all about values and how you need values in a society, otherwise it decays.
And his buddy, his right-hand man there, Evan Solomon, the head of the most important industry right now, AI, has already been fired once for his lack of values, but a hell of an art dealer.
Likewise, one of his other recent recruits, who went to bat for the Chinese Communist Party, that great friend of humanity, the Chinese Communist Party, on the subject of slave labor. These are the people Mark Carney is embracing. And then Mark Carney was asked, what's going on here? Your new MP just went to bat for the CCP on slavery. That's not very nice, is it, Mr. Carney? And then Carney mumbled, and ahed, and said nothing. The man that wrote Values. What else can we conclude other than that this organization, the Liberal Party, has no principles whatsoever other than we must have power? That's the only guiding principle that I can see that the Liberal Party has.
And then CBC and CTV and Global and Canadian Press picked up that rotten, stenchy apple and just polished it. Just put some polish on it there. and showed you the one side there. Just showed you the piece, not the worms all hanging out of it. And then she said one of the things she was in an article in one of the newspapers out there. She said that she joined the Liberals because the only way to get anything done for your communities is that you have to be part of the Liberal team. Isn't that in itself a very bad thing to say that out loud? Because Mark Carney says he works for all Canadians. So does that mean if you don't have a Liberal in your riding, that you'll never see anything? Is that so parts of Canada? Well, I mean, that's what Alberta feels like. So there's your message, Alberta. This is right there from Gladu, the newest Liberal MP.
Look at the last two sentences. Or the last three sentences. I sent Gregor Robertson a one-page, I think she's supposed to say document there, of all the things that lined up with his file that we wanted in Sarnia. It went really nowhere until I crossed the floor. This is what I'm hoping will be the result. Do they? I like. It's almost like they're so tactless. They're so they're so rough. These people that they don't. And I mean that as in like they don't know how to speak or think. Lots of rough edges. That they don't know how to conceal the secrets of this poisonous, diseased political system that we have in this country. So they're just giving it up freely.
Well, they don't even know what's...
Oh, yeah, if you're an opposition MP, like the government won't do anything for your riding because they don't care. You've got to swap sides. You've got to go to their side. Then they'll sort you out. That's how Canadian democracy works, right? I mean, dear God, these people are just, they're so crude.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you want a message, Alberta, they just gave it to you. British Columbia, Saskatchewan, there's your message. If you don't have Liberals in your riding, you're not going to get anything. I mean, Ian's right. They don't even know what they're saying. They think it's positive. It's like, this is positive. But this is actually like, this is hugely like an expose. If this is true, this is an expose. This is a scandal.
Yeah. And it's just because I just don't think they have the sense to kind of pass it through their filter first. Like, they don't have that filter. That's like, hold on. What will this look like if I say this? Like, that filter doesn't exist for them. So it's just like, yeah, so I defected. And now, like, the Liberals are doing everything that I wanted. They were ignoring me before. Now they're going to help Sarnia.
Well, we know how they feel. Because we send countless emails for questions and they ignore us too. So what do we have to do? We have to start doing Liberal puff pieces where we just talk about how great Mark Carney is and then they'll actually answer an email. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Wild. Here's our friend Evan Solomon, the art dealer again, speaking to his former colleague there at CTV.
Before I let you go, how many more crossers are we expecting this weekend? There are reports that there's as many as 9 coming.
Look, I'm not going to speculate on rumors. I'm going to say this. One, we're very happy to welcome Marilyn. 2, we've got 3 by-elections that our heads are down. You know, our job is to get our heads down. People are working really hard to win those 3 by-elections on April 13th. And we are talking, look.
Are you talking to other MPs?
Yes, we're talking. There's lots of conversations happening.
How many more are you recruiting?
There's no number. We are talking to lots of people.
But you are recruiting. You are actively trying to get more.
We are welcoming. We have a mission. And I think the Prime Minister said it. We have a pragmatic mission that is attracting people who want to put their shoulder to the wheel, put away partisanship, and get to work building a country in a very mission-critical moment.
But there's
and
a
if
difference
people
between
want to do that,
there's a difference between attracting and going out and recruiting. Which one is it?
We're having conversations with people who are very confident in the Prime Minister's mission, and if they want to join and put their shoulder to the wheel, we welcome them to join the party. But I will just say this.
Sounds like it's a bit of both.
Well, look, we always welcome people into the party, but
it sounds like you're trying to recruit.
Well, we would welcome anyone in the party. I think that's you're right, but I would say this is a moment where, like, it's a pragmatic moment. People, whatever flag you're flying over your house, orange, red, blue, you want to build. You know this is a mission critical, and I think the Prime Minister is saying, whatever your flag is, we're going to build with you and join that mission together.
He's not even bright enough to know that there's a difference between recruiting and attracting. Like he's giving into it. I mean, they've already said it. That Lori Ildut said that she was recruited. The person in Vernon said they were being recruited. So what recruiting means is they do not believe in democracy and the vote, because that's the difference. Recruiting is the electorate. They don't want to go to the electorate because they don't feel confident the electorate will give them the majority they seek. They seek power, and they don't want to get it from you, the Canadian public. They want to get it through a backroom deal.
Usually what holds them back is values, isn't it? Principles. That's usually what holds them back. And we've talked before about how these people are just moral slime and they don't have any principles whatsoever, which is probably obvious to anyone. But it's also true that the party, Mark Carney's Liberal Party, also doesn't stand for anything. It only stands for Mark Carney. That's it. It stands for itself. Power for its own sake. Power for Mark Carney's sake, maybe you could say. So it's a lot easier to join a party like that, isn't it? Especially if you're an unscrupulous little rascal like these are. You can join that party and then, they've tried a little bit, haven't they, with Gladu to talk about social conservative things. But it's like, from her perspective, if you were going to try and defend her corner, she might just say, hold on a minute. Like, the Liberal Party doesn't stand for anything. It doesn't have any values, any principles whatsoever. So I can just believe what I want. All is fine and dandy. It's just like, I'm joining a better firm or something like that. It's like, values don't come into it because it doesn't stand for a thing. It doesn't stand for anything at all.
This is the biggest scandal in Canadian political history. They have decided that the electorate doesn't matter. By recruiting and by going after like this, they've decided that this is the moment that they during like COVID, where this is the moment where elections don't matter. What matters is power, because there's a big moment going on right now, and we need to get power. We must have power. And the election doesn't matter. Democracy does not matter. So they have put democracy into the backseat, and they'd like to throw it out of the car, I think. They'd like to throw it right out of the car. And that is the story. And you're not going to find it on CBC. You're not going to find it on CP or Global or CTV. You're going to find it in outlets like ourselves. You're going to find it on people like Tristan Hopper, and you're going to find it on Terry Newman, Sam Cooper, the independents that fight hard. The ones that polish the apple, that get fed the money. Because right now, this should be the biggest story. And it'll likely end up on some American websites, some British websites. Do you know what I mean? Because this story will get out. Like people, this is not hard to figure out. Ian and I are not the smartest, people in the world. Maybe we rank up there, but maybe we're the smartest reporters in Canada. But it's not. We
think we're pretty smart.
Some people say. That,
well, the thing is, I would never say that, and I don't think you would say that seriously either. But what does happen is we end up looking pretty smart compared to the low-grade people that populate the elite. But no, I don't think either of us thinks that we're Stephen Hawking sat here.
Well, I mean, it's easy to look like an eagle when you're surrounded by a bunch of turkeys that are just like wondering where the next bag of grain comes from. Selling your soul.
Turkeys too admirable again. Yeah. Turkeys are quite funny animals. Turkeys don't seem to take themselves too seriously, do they? They just sort of like gobble around. They need to be a more ridiculous bird than that.
Evan Solomon's the poster boy, both for the way the media is in Canada and the politicians. His compromised values, he's proven it over and over again. And he's one of their stars. And hey, what would a party be with the Liberals without their little sock boy? Take it away, Justin.
Ensemble. Not only is this one of the biggest gatherings ever in the history of the Liberal Party, the majority of you are at a convention for the very first time. Take it from me, your first convention is in Montreal. You totally lucked out. Plus, the huge numbers of you from across the country are really important. The bigger, the more welcoming, the more diverse we are, the stronger we are. And Canada needs a strong and dynamic Liberal Party. On est le parti qui célèbre la diversité.
That's good enough. I gotta keep my.
He's made me feel embarrassed. I feel embarrassed just watching that. How could you ever speak like that? Seriously. Like, your first conference is in Montreal. You looked at it's stop it. How does he do it? It's kind of like it's like an ad, isn't it, for a bank account or something? It's like you could go with Scotiabank. It's just
I think
so fake. It's unbelievable.
I think one thing you should mention, you've got an interview lined up with a something that's really relevant right now with a Brit. Maybe.
Yeah, well, we've talked about him lots of times. Douglas Carswell, who's moved to Mississippi now. He's no longer an MP in Britain. So lots and lots of things to talk with him about. But he's the chap that there's so many reasons to talk to him. But he was an MP during Mark Carney's tenure as Bank of England governor. So he'll have some insight there. But he's also that guy. The reason that I've mentioned him a number of times is he defected from the Conservative Party to join a party called UKIP, which was led by Nigel Farage, who some of you may know. And then he instantly resigned. He resigned his seat and precipitated a by-election, which he then won. So, an example of somebody who did it the right way. And he also, you say what you want about, the polls might have looked okay for him or something like that. You could make some cynical comment like that, but he threw the dice there. That was a big gamble. Like, he really stood by his principles. Whatever you think of him or his former party affiliation or whatever, he shows that it's possible in the Westminster system to do the right thing. And, Marilyn Gladu was asked yesterday, so one of the reporters said to her, you've previously said that people should resign and call a by-election if they defect. Like, that should be the law. And her response to that was, well, it isn't the law, so obviously I didn't do it. It's not the law in England either. But Douglas Carswell, this chap that we're going to interview, did it anyway, because that's the honourable thing to do. That's the right thing to do. That's what you do if you believe in democracy. And like I said, I'm reading, I've mentioned this a couple of times, I'm reading Values by Mark Carney. I'm finally getting around to reading that gigantic tome. And I just read what I think is probably the best part of the book, where he talks about Magna Carta and he talks about democratic principles and things like that. It's actually quite good. The first part of the book that's actually somewhat interesting. And it's just, you look at that and then you look at his actions. You look at these MPs who've defected without by-elections. And then you look at somebody like Douglas Carswell and you just ask, who do you think of those actually believes in democracy and the Westminster system, the English way of doing it, which Mark Carney says that he reveres and wishes to, prop up? All you've got to do is resign and fight a by-election. It's not even, is that really so complicated? You don't have to agree. You don't have to sign the next Magna Carta. You don't have to get the barons together and come up with some new constitution. It's not that hard. Your life's not in danger. You just need to do the obviously right thing.
I wouldn't be surprised, Justin Trudeau sneaking his head out there. I've always said that they're likely going to give him an ambassador job for like net zero ambassador to the world. Maybe this is his coming out party, because he loves
ambassador to Hollywood. Maybe
he loves attention and he seeks attention wherever he goes. They have absolutely no values at all. And if people are saying this guy's got to get out to more people, help us get it out to more people. Share it on your Facebook, drop it everywhere there's a CBC story, drop it wherever there's a CTV story, drop it in their comments if they let you, drop it everywhere. More people need to see the truth, because you're not getting it from the apple polishers. You're not getting it from them.
That's a nice way of putting it. That's a euphemistic way of putting it. I don't know if they're polishing apples.
Polishing something, all right. Here's Chris d'Entremont, though. Listen to what he says. Like, this is just, you can't even write this stuff. This is like a 1984. Even there, they would, we're not going to put that in. That's just too crazy.
So I'm pleased to be here with you in Montreal today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chris D'Entremont, Member of Parliament for Acadianapolis. And I've been trying a couple of different lines as I've been speaking to folks in the foyer and as we've been going to different events today. So I don't know whether to introduce myself as a recovering conservative or just that I was a liberal and I didn't know it. So you guys tell me, give me some feedback later of what that should be.
From the, see, he doesn't even know what he wants to say. He's just trying out lines. That's all it is lines. That's all it is. There is no authenticity. There's no morality. There's no, like, this is what's good for Canada. This is what's good for Chris. This is what's good for the Liberal power machine. I am now part of the machine. You will.
And we talk about how fake Justin Trudeau is. Justin Trudeau is so fake that it's like a megaphone being shouted in your face. It's like, wow, this guy is like a cartoon character. He's so fake. But this is another kind of fakeness, isn't it? And it's a lack of authenticity. And you can just see, you can tell. Just, you can, even if you close your eyes, just listen to somebody. You can tell whether they believe what they're saying, can't you? We have that instinct. We have that power. It's built in. Just listen to that man speaking. And tell me if you think he believes what he's saying, if he has real faith in his words. Like, no. There's a reason that oratory is such a powerful tool and phenomenon in the species. Because if you really believe it and you really speak to a crowd in a convincing way, there's almost like nothing you can't do, It has such an enormous power. And then that's the other side of the coin. Just look at that.
It's sorry, I got caught up in the comments here, but like, it's wild. The power is all they seek. There is no morality, and there's nothing's better either. Like, we're going to show you that stuff here. We're going to bring you some receipts. 13 months in now, what can we point to other than the seeking of power? Just the grotesque lack of morality.
And the seeking of power to what end?
No.
What's the end here? What's the teleology of the Liberal Party, Mark Carney's Liberal Party? I don't know. What is that? Like, you're talking about having power, acquiring power. What are they doing in terms of wielding power? I don't really see much.
I think Buck's trying to stir it up in here. But listen, Buck, it's not about this. It's just the vote. If they're so confident they have 45% of the polls, then call an election and do it the right way. Don't win a Stanley Cup by cheating. Just go to the electorate. Go to the electorate. That's the way to do it. That's the right way to do it. That's what democracy is. There is no argument against it. That's what democracy is. Go to the electorate. Because it's Canada, the Canadians, that have the power. It's not backroom deals, especially ones that have already compromised themselves and already been proven to be sleazy. And here's another one. Listen to this. This is Bruce Vanjoy that basically, listen to what he has to say.
A lot of Conservative MPs are crossing the floor. Do you think Poilievre should maybe be one of them?
Poilievre would not be accepted in the Liberal Party, so I don't see that happening at all.
A lot of people.
Good enough. That's Bruce Vanjoy, the one that.
Why was he backing off as if the guy had like a knife or something? He's like, I don't know if.
Yeah, Ian's echoing again there, Desert Fox. What's going on?
TDF.
What's going on, man?
But why not, would be my question. Why wouldn't Poilievre be welcome?
Yeah. Well, they welcome anything. Anybody. Michael Ma. There is no bar. Maybe when we play this video here from Pierre Poilievre on land titles. You want to just jump in and out, Ian, and see if that clears up your echo? Let's play this video here.
Alex Zoltan with the Western Standard. Do you have any comment on the rumors circulating that more floor crossings are imminent? And what do these floor crossings say about the current state of the Conservative Party of Canada?
Well, I don't comment on rumors, but what I will say is this. Members of Parliament should stand up for the party and the principles that they said they would when they were looking people in the eye in their elections. If you ran in an election, you went out and you said to little old ladies, to veterans, to truckers, to single moms, that you were going to stand up for the Conservative platform of affordability, safety, and national sovereignty, and to do so as part of the Conservative Party that people voted for, then you should respect those people and honor your word. What Mark Carney is saying is that your vote doesn't count, that he's going to use backroom dirty deals to reverse the election result in countless ridings, robbing people of their voice and giving him the power to raise your cost of living. That is wrong. He should respect the democratic will of the Canadian people.
Ian's back. Is it my voice?
Powerful words from Pierre Poilievre, but he was asked about his leadership, wasn't he? Which is obviously a question. Whether he likes that or not, that's a question that's, lingering. And he didn't answer that question really. So he's that's not gonna stop lingering. That's not a way to get that question to bat it aside. So I mean, but he never does. This is one of his problems, isn't it, Pierre Poilievre? He struggles when it comes to admitting any sort of weakness or any kind of failure. He's not very good at that, is he? He's very confident, I suppose, even to the point of seeming to be unaware of reality sometimes. Because obviously people who are very, very sympathetic to Pierre Poilievre and very, very sympathetic to the Conservative Party are asking questions. It's not just random Liberal partisans who are asking those questions.
Yeah, and then they're going to go after him. I mean, that's what you're going to find with, instead of CBC and CTV and Global and them doing the stories on the electorate, the basis and the foundation of democracy, they're going to go after Poilievre. I mean, it's a legitimate question, but if all the energy is put there, it seems odd, because most of the energy should be the biggest scandal to take place, because this is the most floor crossings in 109 years. I think we did that yesterday, 109 or 119 years. And these are backroom deals, and they're actively, according to Evan Solomon, they're actively recruiting. That's the difference, right? Than somebody that just, decides on his own that he's going to cross over. The Liberal Party has decided that instead of going to an election, they're going to actively recruit members. That means they don't
Which is a
respect
bit mad, isn't it? Because if the polls are accurate, then it's theirs for the taking.
Yeah.
They
So
could
then the
win
polls-
it. It looks like they could win it legitimately if they tried, if they did it, but they just don't want election, do they? And now as well, you have to introduce this little factoid. They're almost prevented from calling an election now because they've just recruited all these people from other parties who would get absolutely wiped out if they stood for an election as Liberals. Yeah, I mean, I certainly assume that Marilyn Gladu would just get obliterated if she was to go again in that riding. So it's almost like the Liberals have said, just by bringing on these defectors, they've kind of said, like, we're not going to do elections because that would sink all their ships, wouldn't it?
I just want to say in the comments, we love the comments, and we like it, when there's people with different points of view. But if you're just going to stick on one thing and just try to be disruptive, then we have no choice but to say that you're going time out for a bit. Because if you're just here to disrupt other people from having a decent conversation, that's you seem to have a different motive as well. So, say your point, you've made your point, and then move on to something else. Don't just kind of continue to say the same thing over and over again just to disrupt everything, right? People are coming here for decent conversations, and we respect that. Pierre Poilievre was also talking about property rights. So Parliament must convene hearings on property rights after British Columbia judge granted Aboriginal title to 1,846 acres in Richmond. We've done that story over and over again. We've interviewed Jeff Moyse, Aboriginal lawyer here, one of the most experienced ones here in BC, I think 5 times now. And Poilievre said this is a federal issue. It will be. It has to exhaust the BC Supreme Court first, though. And it'll eventually end up, the Supreme Court of Canada will not hear it until it's exhausted here in British Columbia. And this could be, according to Jeff Moyse, the Aboriginal lawyer, this could be 5 to 7 years before this thing is, those properties get that cloud removed from them one way or the other. Because right now, those properties are basically unsaleable. Not at what there used to be their property value. And there's competing claims on this property as well. The Cowichan also, his tribe actually wants to go back to court because they want more property than what they were awarded. I think it's another 1,000 acres they want. And then to make matters even muddier, the federal government, Mark Carney, and these are all backroom kind of deals, and they just get to see the light of day when they put the agreement on the table. Mark Carney comes around and awards basically Vancouver to the Musqueam. And there's 6, 7, 8 competing claims for Vancouver as well. So this is a mess, and it seems almost like intentional. David Eby has put a pause on it, which has now caused a lot of people, including some of the First Nations, to actually use the name Indian Giver against David Eby. And
weird.
So it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And if you happen to own one of those properties in Richmond there, the 1,800 acres, can't get a mortgage right now on a renewal. And David Eby said he'd backstop those properties, right, I think to $150 million, which is, according to the Vancouver Sun article, it's more like $1 billion. And then when I talked to Jeff Moyse, he says this problem is literally in the trillions in British Columbia because most of the land in British Columbia is unceded. Most of the rest of Canada, other than the East Coast, some of the provinces out there, and a little bit of Quebec, most of them are settled by treaty, other than British Columbia. You know, a northeast corner of British Columbia is, I think, settled by Treaty 8. And there's small pieces on the island. We've done so many interviews with Jeff Moyse. You can go search them. Go on our channel, search Jeff Moyse. He's done some really good explainers on this. So this article here but I don't even think Pierre Poilievre has a really good understanding of this. He's been briefed on it, but I don't think he has a really good understanding of it because it can't go to the Supreme Court of Canada until it exhausts the BC Supreme Court. Right now, they're set for an appeal. This could take for a long, long time. And we've done probably some of the best work on this. So I don't want to toot our own horns, but we've done a lot on this. So you can go watch that stuff.
And it's also, this is so intractable. This is this requires a totally new way, I think, anyway, if you want to fix it. Requires a totally new way of thinking. And I'm not sure Pierre Poilievre showed that. I mean, a little bit when he's talking about, he was talking about making sure that it was completely enshrined. Or he sort of alluded to that, didn't he? Saying it maybe should have been enshrined in the Constitution, but he didn't call for it actually to be there. But he's taking, these are baby steps, aren't they? But at the same time, he is the only sort of senior politician in
on the
Canada
federal level,
even done this much. Yeah, that's even talked about it this much. So I guess that is that's progress, isn't it? Ever so.
So there's talking to Jeff Moyse. You know, like a lot of the Conservative candidates for the BC leadership here are talking about the need to repeal DRIPA, and I think that's almost across the board. They're saying that. Eby's put a pause on it, but Jeff says. It's not just repeal of DRIPA. UNDRIP needs to be removed. That's the bigger part, and that needs to come out of the federals as well. UNDRIP and DRIPA.
But this is the kind of thing where you'd think that there would be something like a constitutional convention, that old-fashioned term, where people would come together and acknowledge that this is like a strange emergency sort of issue, and we have to go into that with there being a status quo, and we have to leave with a new status quo. Like we have to have a kind of a revolution of some sort or another. in this case, a constitutional revolution, I guess. But that, like, we talk about the American founding fathers, don't we? And even the fathers of Confederation, you could talk about, and the people that authored, like the Glorious Revolution in England and Magna Carta. We've talked about all of these sort of like milestones in the history of the Anglosphere, the English-speaking world. The people involved were often pretty smart, pretty brave, pretty sort of exceptional human beings who were in positions of leadership. You look around now at the landscape, do you see anybody, even a fraction as great as those people? Because I certainly don't. I literally just don't see anybody that could take the reins and do something like that. So instead it just kind of, it just rolls down the hill like a dirty snowball.
Hey, Hockey Dad, turn off your cap locks. It's hard to read cap locks, and it sounds like you're shouting. Just turn off cap locks. It's better to go without the capitals than just have all cap locks. We forgive you if you don't capitalize the first word, but like cap locks is really hard to read. That's scientifically proven. In case you want to trust the science. What the Liberals are good at is wasting money. Here's another one. There is insufficient evidence to determine if the costly grocery subsidies for Northerners is lowering the price of food, and that's from a federal report. The Nutrition North program cost $194 million last year. And is that subsidy being fully passed on to consumers? I'm going to bet dollars to donuts. The answer would be a big fat no. It noted while claimed discounts range from 67 cents to 98 cents for every dollar spent on subsidies, these figures were based on internal costing models, not verified shelf prices. Imagine that, internal costing models, right? Wild. Another $194 million. The program
just not measure the outcomes. Yeah. Once again, don't measure the outcomes.
Yeah.
If you wanna do something perhaps opaque and maybe even sinister or nefarious with public money, just don't measure the outcomes. It's literally that simple. Are we the only people that have noticed that? All you've got to do is not measure the outcomes. Then that money, you can do whatever you want with it. It's just your money then.
It's just another way to dole out cash. It's like we talked about yesterday, the Alto train. It's a way to transfer wealth, a fast way to transfer wealth to consultants, friends, relatives, spouses, Francois Philippe Champagne. And then you have people that are really bad at math that win the leadership. Like, how is it Canada just blessed with all these people that just fail basic math? Here's Avi Lewis. Listen to his plan.
Question of public option for groceries been taken up right here in the city of Toronto, which is now studying the proposal. We sparked a national debate, and we have a very clear plan to cut grocery prices by 30 to 40% for Canadians at a cost to the federal government that would subsidize this network of 50 kind of public Costco plus local stores. We'd subsidize it. It costs $350 million to launch and $300 million a year, which is, Anne-Marie, 0.5% of the current defense budget. So these are not expensive radical proposals. These are practical solutions to the crisis of the cost of living. And we're going to get out there and fight for Canadians and their everyday needs. When the other parties are distracted, Pierre Poilievre is in a leadership crisis with all these floor crossings. And the Prime Minister, I don't know, he's building a big tent so big that I think if a tent is as big as the entire political spectrum, what do they stand for? This question.
I have a napkin and a pencil. I could probably show you why Avi Lewis is not very good at math. $300 million a year is going to reduce the grocery prices by 30%. Is that what if a Canadian eats one meal a year?
What would that meal be?
Think about it. There's 40 million Canadians in Canada. 40 million Canadians, right? Right? $10 is the $400 million, right? So $10 difference.
Wow.
Is that going to change the price of that's all you need to do just for your basic math calculation there. I mean, it's close, right? It's not. But I mean, like you could do this on a paper bag, Avi. But he says it, and the reporter's just like, yeah. And there is public grocery stores already. It's called co-ops. Anyway.
It's interesting as well, I think, something to notice here that I guess you would call this guy the leader of the left. And he's already identified the defense budget as his, the way to balance all budgets for all time. We'll just take it from the defense budget, which is something that you'd hear a lot of back in the day. That's the attitude that got Canada where it is, spending no money on a military, like literally not having a military at all.
You just keep
it got
gutting
there
it.
because so many people said, "Oh, we don't need tanks and things like that. Like let's do stupid things like this." So already that's a target. So sort of keep your eyes on that, because that's only going to intensify, I think, as it becomes more obvious to people like that the defense budget is quite a large chunk of spending.
Thank you to Hockey Dad for taking the caps off. Appreciate that. I think a lot of people in the comments appreciate that as well. And just because we try to monitor them, like we try to, respond. I mean, we're trying to do that. We are doing a Thinking Canadian show today. We will do it at noon today. And we're going to try and start talking about saving you money in this unprecedented time when values don't matter. Maybe we should talk about values, because most of the people here, like, they seem to have common sense and have values. Should we chuck our values to jump right into this mess, or should we stick with our values and it'll just become that much more valuable because it's so rare? Here's Anita Anand. This is one from Holly Donut Blacklocks again, and that's the subscription well worth your money. Auditors are faulting Minister Anand's department for sloppy accounting. Imagine that. By diplomats abroad, including disappearing paperwork. How does paperwork disappear on spending? How does that disappear? Paperwork just vanished. Is it just like, it just disappears? Magic? The latest report follows a 2020 disclosure that one embassy misappropriated $145,000 for a party pavilion and lied to cover the expense. Lied. That's a strong word to use in a government report. Lied. Will there be accountability, though, for it? Will there be accountability? Lied, strong word. Currently, there's no guidance for document retention, nor no centralized document repository accessible to all stakeholders. I mean, they spend billions of dollars on software, and they have no place to put this paperwork. The investigation targeted spending on minor projects valued between $25,000 and $2.5 million. Minor. To most of us, that's not minor. $25,000, $2.5 million? That's what I mean. All these little things are just like, oh, you spent $2.5 million on a party? Nah. Got any paper for that? Nah. Nah. The department's real estate portfolio abroad was worth billions. More than 2,400 properties have a replacement value of $3 billion. Why don't we sell those and give people a break? Hey? Why is the guy in New York living in a penthouse? Why? It's a good question. The worst misconduct was uncovered at the Canadian Embassy in Addis Ababa, where diplomats misappropriated $145,000 to build a large, covered pavilion-style structure to host parties and receptions, then hid the expense in the maintenance budget. Why not? As Mark Carney says, who cares? Who cares?
I mean, you look at where all this happened. So we got Haiti. That's the one up there that you missed. That was the $1.7 million. Then you've got South Africa, and then Addis Ababa that you mentioned, which is Ethiopia. These are all countries that aren't usually very high up on the corruption index, corruption-free index or whatever it is. I can't remember the name of that thing, where they rank you by corruption.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've gone to the right countries to sort this kind of...
Imagine all these NGOs where all this money goes to gender equality, rice and stuff, and ski hills in Lebanon. Imagine if you did an audit on that kind of money. Millions and billions of dollars. Imagine if you did an audit on the money that went to Ukraine. Almost $25 billion. Imagine if you did an audit on that. Chrystia Freedom's overseeing that right now. She was a hell of a finance minister.
You're talking about doing an audit, but you're forgetting what the beginning of this story concentrated on. It was disappearing paperwork. Do you really think that when the time comes to audit the money spent on Ukraine, do you think all the paperwork's going to be in order? Because
we will
I
not
claim the right to be doubtful of that.
We will not have accountability over the last 11 years until this government has changed out. They will resist any and all accountability. They're sealing the vaccine records for 15 years. What does that tell you? Why? What logic? And why isn't CBC the voice of the people pushing back on it? Start there. Another one from Holly Donald Blacklock's MP got managers' attention. Canadian Border Services Agency executives hurriedly convened strategy sessions after an opposition MP publicly disclosed whistleblower complaints of workplace harassment, and that's from access to information records. And Rhonda Kirkland MP persuaded the Commons Public Safety Committee to investigate the agency's toxic workplace cultures. There you go. Hundreds of young women currently working as officers at the agency are afraid to say something, said Kirkland. They're afraid of reprisal. They are afraid they will lose their positions, which they love. It is their life's work. I mean, we've seen this over and over and over and over again, and agency after agency after. It's just incompetence, like fraud, like how many paintings and art gone missing, just corruption everywhere, paperwork missing. Here we got harassment issues, and then whistleblowers being punished. It's just rife, right? In the vaccine, the VAERS, and where they had the money to give to people that were hurt by the vaccine, they were watching Netflix. They were watching Netflix and having parties while they were sending back emails to kind of dissuade people from applying for money from being hurt from the vaccine. That was their job. And I think half the budget, I can't remember exactly, half the budget was spent on just software and administration while they partied, while they tried to dissuade you from even filing a claim.
That's another great way, though, isn't it? To do cheeky things with money is IT expenses.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't quite know why that is, but it's certainly true, isn't it? It's a good way to throw like enormous amounts of money out the door. Like you wanna do something perhaps untoward with. Just say, oh, no, it was like $250 million on IT. Like that Phoenix system, for example. That's the most egregious one in Canada. But there's so many examples of this, and I guess that's because it's an industry that the voter in general maybe doesn't understand. They don't really get it. So it's like, oh, okay, right, I guess that much money could be spent on writing some crap software or something like that.
$473 million in administration of the dental plan there. That's not for the benefits. $473 million in 2 years just for the administration. I think we just did an update on that, and it's well over $600 million just administration. Just administration.
Just remarkable.
So right now, Ian and I are. This show is like a couple of guys with a few pebbles, throwing them at the windows of Parliament. Right, we're throwing them at we're ticking at them. But you can help. You can help us get a bigger audience so that the pebbles turn into rocks, and then we can start rolling boulders down, and make them take a listen. So that's what you can do. You can help us, because accountability. Everybody should want it. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. Everybody should demand accountability of the taxpayer dollar. Doesn't matter if you're a conservative, a liberal, or an NDP. Every one of us should demand accountability for our taxpayer dollar, because you work for that. Every family works for that. Every dollar they take in waste, that's a dollar they took off your table that you could feed your children. So if anybody argues against that, they're obviously here as a troll or that they don't understand, or nor do they care about the pain that Canadians are feeling right now. One more from Hollydone. Federal executives in 2025 discussed a national campaign to electrify school buses. We saw that, didn't we? According to Access to Information, rebates for the purchase of new vehicles to replace Canada's current fleet of 65,000 school buses would cost $1 billion. Even the Americans got stung with that Lion buses, the ones that lit on fire when they did some of these buses. And that company now, I think the Americans, in the millions, hundreds of millions they spent, and they didn't get any buses, nor are they going to get their money back, because that company went out of business. The province of Quebec in 2021 mandated all new school buses must be zero emission with vehicles supplied by local manufacturer Lion Electric Co. That's the one. The province last September temporarily pulled 1,200 Lion vehicles out of the service following bus fire. No injuries. And that went bankrupt. But they're still moving ahead with this strategy. Why not? Okay, why not? Why not?
We're gonna electrify all the buses? It sounds great though, doesn't it? That's the thing. It just sounds so good. As long as it sounds good, as long as you can stand at a podium and promote it.
And this time it's not my wife, it's my brother's wife. Why not? Why not? And then we got this thing going on with the Saab here still, the F-35 and the Saab. The Saab's trying to sweeten the pot here. The Swedish firm has sweetened its offer in Canada and attempts to persuade Liberals to buy the Gripen instead, because it will now create a sovereign data center in Montreal. In Montreal yet. Imagine that. In Montreal. In Montreal.
They know where to aim, don't they? They know
right.
where to aim.
Right there in Montreal. We're going to put it right there in Montreal.
Should we put it in Liberal Party HQ? Yeah, let's do that. Like the Swedes know what they're doing.
The company spoke directly to CBC. Imagine that. They spoke directly to CBC. And then CBC is going to be the megaphone. The Gripen. With Gripen, the Royal Canadian Air Force will have a full independent control over the aircraft, software, and sensitive data. It won't be able to fight, but hey, what the heck? What the heck? But newly minted Liberal MP.
They still haven't said. They still haven't revealed what they're going to do. They're just like, even though they promised they were going to do it by last summer.
Well, Stephen Harper ordered these jets. Justin Trudeau nixed them, I think, like 2 years in. He nixed them. And then in 2023, he reordered them. And then when Carney won, they've been doing this hand-wringing thing, and the media's doing this Gripen fight for them. Like... the media working for the Swedes. Anti-American more like it, I guess.
And I think realistically as well, they're stringing the Swedes along, aren't they? They can't be serious.
They've already put in some infrastructure and everything for the other one, right? So
well, and as I wrote in 5 things here during that Q&A, such as it was with Marilyn Gladu, she said, I think somebody asked her what Mark Carney's been up to that she likes or something. And one of the examples she gave was, he's buying F-35s. Does she know something that we don't? I mean, I know there's like that order of the smaller number that's gone through, but it's a weird way to answer that question, isn't it? To be like, oh, he's buying F-35s. And I think, the ambassador, the US ambassador said, like, we think that like they're almost certainly going to buy the F-35s. We don't think they're not going to do that. So the bluff isn't working.
Catherine Swift, we've had her on a couple times now, and she said this is the company, the organization that she's the president of. Canada is being recalibrated. Apparently that means drifting from our largest trader partner and calling China predictable. I mean, this is old stuff, but I mean, the United States, again, we haven't used the prop for a while. We're going to bring the prop out, our expensive prop. And again, you got to do this backwards too, right? So that's a little tricky there as you do that.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Geography
it's like
says...
because of the, whatever that... what do you call it? Gyroscopic motion. It's really hard to do, isn't it, when it's
Geography says we're connected to the United States. It's going to be tough to move it to China.
I mean, the geography is one thing, but then the economics is another thing as well, isn't it? And like this tweet says, we sell 20 times more to the US than China. I don't think that's going to change, fellas, or not by much. China can't even sell things to China. If you ever read the propaganda from the Chinese Communist Party, of late, the last several years, a huge chunk of it has been, please buy stuff. please. That's what the Communist Party is saying to Chinese citizens, saying, please just buy stuff. Because the Chinese population are notoriously reluctant to consume. They don't buy stuff. They save instead, which is one of the reasons that they're having this real estate crisis over there. Because people just wanted to save their money in apartments that were never going to be lived in. So, I mean, to think like, oh yeah, we'll go there. That's the consumer market for us. And contrast that with the United States, which, as you've just shown, is right next to us. But in the United States, that is a consumer economy. The Americans are very happy to open their wallets for all kinds of things. Just, just basics, really, isn't it?
Just do a little table, anybody. Just do a little table. You can do a little small table, and you can put China on top on there. You can put USA on the other top there. And you can put largest economy in the world, right? United States. Largest consumer in the world. And this is huge by factor. Largest consumer in the world, United States by a factor, right? China is not the biggest consumer. And then the world currency, United States. The world's most powerful military, United States. Freest country in the world, United States. Still uses slavery. China wins. China wins in that one.
Best fast food restaurant, United States, In-N-Out Burger.
In-N-Out Burger. Hey, In-N-Out Burger for the win. If you haven't,
don't forget the little things.
If you haven't tried In-N-Out Burger, In-N-Out Burger for the win. There you go. Ian and Jim for In-N-Out Burger. That would be if we could do In-N-Out, if we could do actually live stream every day from In-N-Out Burger, that would be the dream. When the budget gets big enough, this show will go on the road right out of an In-N-Out Burger. Oh my God. Energy. We had Heather on the show just recently, and when Mark Carney ran, he talked about we're gonna do things like we've never done before. We're going to build this nation faster. I can't even remember all the rhetoric. But basically it was faster, and we're going to fast track things. But 13 months later, and this is RBC Alberta on a road trip, sensing a rising level of frustration that more tangible actions have yet to emerge to better support the energy industry, including quicker regulatory processes and industrial carbon tax frameworks.
As an accountant, Jim, do you want to translate that into English, what they actually mean there?
What it means is like it's not investable right now. There's better places to invest your money. If you have $1 billion, you're not tied up like Ian and I. If you have $1 billion, the border opens up for you. Like you can't go to the border and say, hey, I got 10 grand I want to invest. And the guy at the border says, yeah, so what, right? But if you phone up DJT and say, hey, I got $1 billion, he's already said it. If you got $1 billion, you come down here and I'll fast track you. I'll get you your regulations and I'll fast track your project. And the door's wide open for you. You can have your gold or platinum card. And they're doing it, including Brookfield, Cameco, Enbridge, Canfor. Shall I go on? Like all of them. Most of the people that are graduating university with tech degrees in it, where are they going? United States of America. Meanwhile, they instead of removing all these regulations, they just put one on top so that they can be the God deciding which ones get approval and don't get approval. And yet God hasn't even spoken yet. God is elusive, as usual. Not the real God, these gods. The energy gods of Canada.
But this is a real, they don't write in very persuasive or colorful language, but this is very much like a balloon popping, isn't it? It's like this.
The reality. This is reality.
Everything that the Liberals are saying. Yeah. Quite devastating, really, isn't it? Well, just saying like nothing's happening. Nothing's going on.
There's capital ready to deploy, and it's getting lured south. Even that pipeline that's actually going to happen is likely going to be the one that goes south. Because Daniel Smith said 2 years to even get an approval to build a pipeline The pipeline should be built in 2 years. People are screaming for energy today. David Eby says, by the time we get a pipeline built, nobody will be using oil and gas. David Eby's been wrong many, many times, but he can say whatever he wants. He likes to say things.
David Eby likes to try and block energy projects in Canada and brag about his own clean energy grid in BC while having to buy energy off Alberta and Washington State and you know, the American states, the American grid. I mean, why? In other words, why would anybody take what he has to say about anything like this seriously? You know, he's also the guy that was railing against LNG. Now it's the bee's knees, and he brags every day about LNG and says it's the biggest project in Canadian history, and we did this. It was all us. You know, it's at a certain point it becomes too difficult to swallow, doesn't it? All that.
This other tweet here from Heather, this can't be emphasized enough. We only have as much oil as we used during COVID. What price of a barrel do you think we will need to hit to get people around the world to reduce their fuel use to the same level they were forced to do during the government mandates of 2020? Energy, I mean, if you come here for a lot on this show and you're going to know this saying, you probably can say it for me. Energy is everything. Cheap, reliable energy is prosperity and security. And yet, we could be providing that prosperity to our nation and that security to our nation, plus to many other nations around in the Western world. The person making money right now is Vladimir Putin is making money. Basically, the Europeans, and many of them, are funding the war against Ukraine because they're filling the coffers from Vladimir Putin. And yet Canada shirks its responsibility to get energy out. And Heather says, we can watch the interview on our show, Heather says millions of people will likely face famine, starvation, and possible death because of Canada's shirking its responsibility.
Her point here is quite important as well, isn't it? What she's saying is because of the cuts to energy caused by the Iran crisis, we now have available for use the same amount of energy that was used during COVID. And as everybody can remember, when gas was like nothing, it was like, you know, 30, 40 cents or whatever it was a litre. You know, people weren't driving anywhere. Like they even shut the parks and stuff like that. People were just sat in their houses. So to think that we could bring demand down to that level, like that's pretty shocking. I mean, with commodities, I find you can get stung if you think that, oh, we're all doomed. Like I remember all the fear during the Russian invasion of Ukraine. There was a huge amount of fear that there was going to be famine in the Middle East because they rely on grain from Ukraine and Russia to feed their populations there. They don't really have very good agriculture by and large in the Middle East. And there was massive fear about that. And I was one of the people that was like really concerned. But commodities people are sort of quiet geniuses who figure these things out somehow or other. And so I would say there's still a prospect that something will be figured out, but it is quite scary, isn't it, when you look at it?
Thank you to IBNK. I'm not sure.
Ibn Khaldun, one of the great, talk about the Middle East, one of the great philosophers of the Middle East, scientist, who's like a universalist.
Thanks for the
polymath.
contribution. And especially like Lady Jen there. She said if she had $1 billion, she'd buy our show. And Lady Jen, will you headquarter in an In-N-Out burger for us so that we can have an In-N-Out burger during the show? This is the point you got to watch. This is the clarity. This is the moment of clarity for you to understand where the oil field companies are coming from. Listen to this. This is a moment of clarity. Listen.
Resource sector. One of the things that comes up a lot in respect to this policy is carbon leakage, and I'm just wondering maybe if you could speak to that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you talk to oil and gas producers, it's no longer a theoretical. They see these regulations. I've looked at them. We're doing some research that we plan to publish, I think, mid-April, submit to this committee as well. And when they do the math, it's pretty sobering. So to put it in perspective, thermal producers that are using SAGD, steam-assisted gravity drainage, and that accounts for about 75 to 80% of production, in situ bitumen production in Canada. For those guys, with the current schedule that's been published, I have heard from a number that at a certain point, it becomes more economically rational for them to turn off the steam, pull as much oil out as they can, as fast as possible while the reservoir is still hot, and then get out of Dodge, deploy that capital to a jurisdiction that doesn't have comparable carbon costs, which for the record is most jurisdictions. Most jurisdictions don't do what Canada's doing, certainly not energy producers. And the ones that I'm speaking of, these aren't marginal producers. These are, as we know, some of the lowest emissions intensity producers globally, and their liabilities are fully funded, so they can just get out whenever they want, and then we lose those jobs, we lose those opportunities, and those emissions, most crucially, do not stop. They just go somewhere else.
Ding, 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 ding. For the win, she says, common sense. Will the Liberals hear it? Absolutely not.
I was going to say, like, what would that have sounded like, the Liberals? I wish I could see their faces while that was being said. Did they just sort of like, was it like some horror movie? Was it like Invasion of the Body Snatchers or something? It was just like, I can't hear it. I can't hear that sound. Just like blood coming out of their ears.
Ding, 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 ding. For the win. And for the clowns, all they hear is, how are we going to tax that? Is there a way for us to tax the United States? Can we do that? Oh, no, when they sell us back the energy, we can just tax it at the pump. Bingo.
You're saying, is there a way to tax the United States? Yeah, they tried that. That you could say, you could argue, with the digital services tax, which is now resting in its grave because the Americans insisted that we kill it. So yeah, they will try and tax anything, including the Yankees.
At noon, we're going to have a show. Ian and I are going to talk to our members. So if you're not a member, you can consider joining. It's a way to support independent media as well. Thinking Canadian. If you're still able to think before we get sent to a re-education camp. I say that half like mocking and then half, is it that far off? Like, I mean, some of the stuff we're seeing, it's just like, I wouldn't believe where we're at today. If somebody told me 3 years ago this is where Canada would be at, I'd say, there's not a chance. You're crazy. I've worked in the oil patch, and this is the oil patch right now. They're trying to do their best. The Alberta, you got to give a lot of respect to the boys in the patch, boys and girls in the patch. You got to give them a lot of respect. They're working their butts off, and they're trying to deliver oil, even though they're fighting regulation and a bunch of stuff. But this is a clip of, and I've worked in there, and I know what this looks like. This greasy mud and breakup. Look at this. He said there ain't no so, yeah.
Oh, look at that machine.
When she thaws, she's slick. Like, she is absolutely slick as you're trying to navigate those roads. And that's in the deep bush. And I've been down the cut lines and all that stuff. I remember even driving a car out to some of the farms there in those greasy roads. And we were up in Manning, Alberta. And we got all caught up and went out to some farm. And in the wheel wells, this thick mud this clay gets caught up in the wheel wells. And it was still falling out when we drove home here to Greenwood here by Kelowna. Like when you hit a bump, there'll still be chunks of mud falling out of the undercarriage, right? Because it's just so thick and greasy, right? But yeah, the boys and the girls out there are working their tails off to get oil out there, and they're fighting against the liberal machine at the same time. Isn't that crazy? Like they're not doing spring break up there. Usually they go silent because the ground goes from winter frozen, because that's when a lot of the work gets done. I worked out in seismic, in minus 50 below, in the hot water spraying in your face and that as you're drilling. And tough work. And tough work. My brother worked on the rigs as well. And tough work. And then you work in the winter, and then spring breakup comes, and there's some people that do a little bit of work in the summer, but some of the places just too thick with muskeg and that, so you can't get in. But a lot of the work in the winter, but they're trying to prolong the season. But a newly engaged, I don't think we have this one, but newly engaged couple sets up wedding registry at a Chevron station. Oh, we do have it. Look at that. See? That's how bad it's getting.
Just when it was looking so good as well, wasn't it? Like, to the extent that people were sort of a bit worried about oil. They were like, God, oil
Well,
is just so low.
Alberta needs $75 a barrel.
And now here we are, different reality, that quick.
Thank you, Canadian A. Keep up the snark. Yeah, we'll keep up the humor because, I mean, that's the only thing that's going to keep us sane, I think, if we have a little bit of humor in there, a little bit of sarcasm. Trump, talking about the Strait of Hormuz here. There are reports Iran is charging fees, and he's put out one of his tweets. He's going to go down in history as the best meme guy ever. Hey, like some of his tweets will be immortalized. Imagine in the museum you have all these kind of like just like the standard, you know, James Madison, all these things that are kind of just very standard, and then all of a sudden Trump. Well, before him we got the auto pen, and then you.
I wouldn't put James Madison in the standard category. I think he was truly exceptional. But yeah, a lot of especially in the 19th century and early 20th century, you did just have a lot of
Jimmy Carter,
run-of-the-mill people. Well, Jimmy Carter is like Donald Trump probably has nightmares where he is Jimmy Carter. I think he looks at Jimmy Carter as like the biggest loser of all time. And that's because Jimmy Carter screwed up with Iran and the Middle East. Some are saying that Donald Trump has followed in those footsteps. And this Truth Social here, the reason that I included it is because all the sort of like banter and the politics and everything aside, this truth actually succeeded in breaking through my cynical shell, and it made me feel a bit sad. It like actually upset me because this is just completely pathetic, isn't it? They better not be, and if they are, they better stop now. It's like, this is not America looking powerful and great, and this is just weakness and defeat, and it stinks of fragility and powerlessness. And it's so sad to see that America and Trump seem to be accepting defeat here, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, as gas prices surge, Trump threatening to stop blocking it. And then we did get something from Keir Starmer. Keir is working on 30 nation militaries as they try to get something going here. Let's listen to Keir.
Well, I had a discussion with President Trump last night and set out to him the views of the region here. These Gulf states are the neighbours of Iran, and therefore, if the ceasefire is to hold, and we hope it will, it has to involve them. They have very strong views on the Strait of Hormuz. And we spent most of the time on the call talking about the practical plan that's going to be needed to get navigation through the Strait, and the role that the UK is playing. For a couple of weeks now, we've been pulling together a coalition of countries, now over 30 countries, working on a political and diplomatic plan, but also looking at military capabilities and actually the logistics of actually moving vessels through the Strait. So that was the focus of the discussion last night, reflection on what I've been discussing here, but also that focus on a practical plan in relation to navigation through the Strait.
So it sounds like they're gonna, because the ceasefire, they're preparing to keep that strait open. I mean, Trump had said earlier that you want oil, then you go and protect that strait then. But we'll see.
But obviously, as we've seen with US gas inflation, 20% up last month. So not even this month, where I think it might look even worse. The obvious reality is that was a nonsensical thing to say. We don't use the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, you do.
It's a world price. That's correct. It's a world price. And they will sell it to where they get the most money. And we're going to shift gears a little bit here. We're going to go to the provincial news here. And we got a little piece right here, next door. Actually, next door, literally next door to our tower. This is Frankie, we salute you. I eat there quite a bit. And and I've interviewed a few people in restaurants. Yeah, you can play it. I've interviewed a few people. Yeah, go ahead and play it. I interviewed a few people in businesses here in Kelowna that have suffered this. This is not just in Kelowna, that's why I put it on. It's all over Canada. break-ins, and these small businesses can't afford this, right? They bust the windows, and this time they went in there and they busted everything, threw food around, and just more vandalism than anything, right? And just instead of just stealing something, they went in there and they basically vandalized the place as well. And this is their second break-in. And these the
Nihilism.
What's that?
Nihilism, almost, isn't it? Just like wanting to sort of burn the world down with no real idea why.
And it's like for a small business, not only is it the loss of the business for the the few days, weeks, or whatever it is takes to get the window fixed and all that, clean up the mess. You lose a couple days for sure of business. The staff feel unsafe, right? And we've had security guards here. I think I put this up, Tristan Hopper, who we've had on the show as well. I mean, we try to get some of the best interviews. Tristan Hopper was a great interview. He said he was giving blood at the blood donor clinic, and they had a security guard. Why? I mean, this is the Canada that it's become. And this is the people that are running Canada. These are the people in charge. When you heard Marilyn Gladu up there, that Mark Carney is fixing crime in Canada. How? Where? When? Well, we've all seen it deteriorate. I mean, you have to, unless you live in a gated community. I mean, we've seen it, haven't we? Like, who hasn't experienced it?
No. I assume he's talking about Victoria there. That's where he lives, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, we had our place broken into. When we were downtown, we had to move. We had our staff threatened to be stabbed. We had somebody break into, I think the internet still lives on the internet. We had somebody broke into our boardroom. Didn't break in, they actually walked in. And then went in there, and then, because it was a closed off boardroom. And they proceeded to put on the screen some porn and proceeded to masturbate. And the cops, when they came, the cop says, well, we don't know what to charge them with. They said, is there a law against that? It's like, there's got to be a law against that. And then they didn't do anything. They released them. And then there was a Halloween pop-up store the next day, like next door to us. The next day, he went in there and did the same thing. He went into the Halloween store, into one of the change rooms, and did the same thing, but left the curtain open because he wanted people to watch him do it.
That makes it into a sexual offense, doesn't it, I think? So that would have been the charge, surely, if the cops really wanted to do it.
And here's Jonathan Kay. Again, here's another guy we interviewed. Jonathan Kay. Great interview. It's done really well, too, I think. It's in the 400,000s or something. But this is the UBCO job application. And this job is for a $120,000 to $150,000. It's for a tenured professor of forestry, right? Hey? But the applicants must identify as having a disability. And here's the form. In accordance with the UBC CRC Equity Diversity Inclusion Action Plan, it's restricted to people with disabilities. We welcome applications from disabled scholars who are also members of the indigenous peoples, racialized people, women, gender equity seeking groups. And then this is the first form here, or first tick box, what you identify with. You pick one of those. So if you pick man there, you're done. Like you go back to no go, right? And then population. Then you got to pick your race here, and then you got to pick your sexual orientation. Maybe you just got to join. Hey.
Yeah, well, it's certainly there's an incentive structure in place, isn't there?
Maybe we just got to give up. Maybe we should start doing powder puff pieces for the Liberals. Who's going to come and watch us, though? Maybe just the Liberals will come and watch. Hey?
I'm just looking at all these options that we have. Does the top one say asexual? Pansexual? I mean, you got options at least.
You got options. You got options.
But also, this is about, you basically have to be disabled, don't you, to get this job or something. For this position, applicants must identify as having a disability. The question immediately follows, doesn't it? Define disability. Because I have a feeling that these people might consider something like anxiety or agoraphobia or something like that. They might consider that a disability.
Can we get
Which
the beaver?
is
Can we
fair
get the
enough.
beaver up?
You can make an argument. You can make an argument for that, sure.
So-
But that is probably not what people think of when they think of disability. They think of somebody that has lost their legs or something like that, don't they, usually? But I'm sure that it'll be a very broad definition that will probably encompass a majority of the population.
That's a UBC form, Vancouver. But the beaver is looking at the form and is just like, you know what? I don't know which box to tick, but I do know where the cabbage is.
Look at his little hands. Every time, it's those little hands that get me.
It's amazing he doesn't eat his hands. It's amazing he doesn't eat his own paw because he's got some pretty big teeth.
He knows what he's doing.
And, you can say that about him, or you can say that about the government. But here's Trump in a jaw-dropping move here, as he labels your old organization as a domestic terrorist organization.
Lastly, sir, this is a presidential memorandum on countering domestic terrorism and organized political violence. In recent weeks, months, and years, we've seen a tremendous upsurge in some highly visible, but also other acts of domestic terrorism and organized political violence being perpetrated by radical, politically motivated groups all over the country. What this presidential memorandum will do is set off an administration-wide response to that, ranging from the Joint Terrorism Task Forces to other components of the Department of Justice, to the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Treasury. We're looking at interdicting these groups, preventing them from performing acts of violence, and also looking at sources of organization and funding and support that prop them up and allow them to do the acts that they have been doing.
That's good. That's good enough. There you go. Antifa. Whew.
Why didn't he do this on day one when he was chucking out all those executive orders?
I don't know the answer to that. They said they were trying to figure out if it was or not. And this one here is weird, but you hear a lot of this in the darker corners of the web, not the dark web, but the darker corners. You hear a lot of these allegations. You know, the people put on the tinfoil hats, but I mean, those people on the tinfoil hats have been right about almost everything. They're shaping those into crowns now. But listen to this one here.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian. I just want to follow up on that. If Planned Parenthood is defunded, would you look into the harvesting of baby organs that they've done throughout the years and maybe go after some criminal prosecution on that?
Well, I think you're talking about a subject that is a heated subject, and we'll look into it. We're going to look into everything, but that's certainly a subject that's been debated for a long time, and we will look into it, yeah.
Mr. President, some senators have expressed hope that the White House will support a rescission package to codify some of the DOJ cuts into law. Where does the White House stand on that? I know you make it.
I have no idea.
It looks like it might be a little bit of a kind of distraction, dare I say.
Ireland, a hotbed. A hotbed. Even our friend Ezra there, but we got this clip here first in Ireland. Ireland doing the Freedom Convoy, basically. Freedom Convoy 2.0 happening right now in Ireland. I think you can do a better Irish accent than I can. Lucky Charms. Let's go, Lucky.
There's a very big protest taking here tonight at Galway Harbour. The numbers have swelled significantly. There are hundreds of people here, and they say they are not going away. The impact of the fuel blockades across the west of Ireland is really taking effect now. There's no diesel in Achill, no fuel in Balmullet, queues in Erris, queuing for fuel, and in Galway, places like Salthill, Athenry, Turlockmore, Casla in Connemara. All of these forecourts have very, very low levels of fuel. Some have completely dried up. And tonight, Ray, that all comes against news I've received from a source in the energy industry to say that there's a tanker off the coast of Kerry tonight coming from Antwerp, and expected to dock at Galway Harbour, tide dependent, at around 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Now that tanker will get here but will not be able to land and offload 6 million litres of fuel. It's agri-diesel, it's white diesel, it's
white diesel. You don't want that. Here's Ezra. Ezra jumped on a plane, and Ezra loves to get.
Doesn't waste any time, does he, Ezra? He's just like right there.
I don't know if he got his van on there or not, but Ezra, right there, showed up.
Okay. Ezra Levant here. I'm standing in the middle of a major 8-lane highway, 4 lanes each way. On this side, absolutely shut down by truckers and farmers. On that side, reduced to 2 lanes, a trickle of cars going by, but you can hear honk honk, the honking of supporters. Why would people who were inconvenienced honk their support at the inconveniencers? The reason is the Irish have had it with fuel taxes, diesel taxes, petrol taxes, taxes on every sort of energy. They're sick of it. And the politicians won't listen to their pleading. So they've decided to shut the country down all over Ireland, highways, the heart of the city.
That's good. Ezra's repeating himself there. We get it. Fuel taxes.
Run out of things to say, but he wanted to keep the shot.
Yeah. Tommy Robinson also put this out. The Irish government announced they're sending in the defense forces. And we do have a clip here from, maybe it's a couple clips later here, but here's the police telling the protesters to get off the street here. Listen to this and what they're threatening them with. Sounded like Justin Trudeau must be making these rules. Listen up.
Do so in the peaceful and orderly manner will result in your possibly being arrested, and on conviction you'll be liable to a fine of €1,000 or up to 6 months in prison. I would just urge you all to please peacefully remove yourselves from the area. Thank you. What do we think, lads?
What do the people of Ireland say?
No! We will not move!
We will not move!
That's good.
What do we think, lads? I tell you what, of all the accents as well, we love our Dutch, we love Southern United States, don't we? And I personally am a big Irish accent respecter. That was very good, wasn't it? You'll be fined €1,000. But quite interesting that they're talking about earlier on. They were talking about the military going in. Ireland doesn't have a military. What are they going to send in?
They got right here. Here's a clip here from Justin's best friend. Maybe she's been on a call with Justin. Listen in.
And this is a country, and we as a government protect the right for people to protest peacefully. It is something that we hold sacrosanct in this country, and it's something that needs to be protected. However, when you start to blockade fuel from actually getting out of depots, when you stop ambulances from getting through to hospitals, when you are stopping animal feed and produce that is needed to keep animals safe, when you have an animal welfare issue now emanating from this, there is a need to respond and to respond effectively. The Defence Forces will always and can always, through their mechanisms, through the aid to civil power, provide that support. That request was asked this morning of the Defence Forces, and they have responded immediately, and they will, of course, through engagement with the Defence Forces, respond in the most appropriate way. But I would stress, and I think we all have to stress, there are genuine people there with genuine concerns, and we all understand that, and government is engaging with the representative associations to work with them and to make sure that people are supported and protected through a difficult time. But those involved in protests who are actively blocking and preventing people from accessing fuel, preventing animals from getting the support or the feed or the assistance that they need, stopping milk from being taken from farms, they have to stop this behaviour, because it is now crossing into criminal behaviour.
So the operation is a guard-led operation, and they've, as you said, asked for support under the normal protocol of aid to the civil power. So the responsibility for the development of the power that the state is through the Garda Síochána. The Defence Forces are there to support them in that role. So where we have capabilities that Garda Síochána may not have, and they've asked for certain capabilities for this particular operation, and we'll provide them. I can't go into any details of where those operations are ongoing, but we will be in support of Garda Síochána from today.
Ireland might be one country Canada could kick its ass. Maybe. Maybe not, though.
I'm just looking now. Their budget is 0.2% of GDP, 1.2 billion euros. No tanks. No fighter jets.
That's what I'm saying.
They don't
You
have
like-
anything. They rely on. They're not in NATO either, by the way. They rely on the old enemy, the English. That's who they rely on to protect them militarily, which is a bit of a strange situation, but it's always pretty much been that way.
And
I
you
don't know where
wonder,
that fella got all those medals from.
I knew you were going to say that, so I was ready for that because it was him fighting that guy off the Lucky Charms box. I'm just kidding. That's disrespectful.
Yeah, it's very
I guess
you're
they've had,
disrespecting my ancestors there. But sorry, I would say as well, you
they
talked
have
about
had some roles, so peacekeeping roles in Lebanon, Congo,
yeah, that's it,
a long
isn't it?
time ago. Bosnia, Mali, Syria. They've sent a few people abroad, so maybe that's where he picked up
That's the only place I could imagine.
the jewelry.
But you talked about earlier, you were saying they seem to have taken, they've been inspired by Justin Trudeau. Au contraire, I don't think so, because they have actually spoken to the protesters.
No.
The government has a line of communication. They've said that they'll speak to them. Justin Trudeau, as people can probably remember, refused to even speak to them. He just denounced them immediately and defamed them as Nazis and all the rest of it. Which, as I say, is for me still remains the most astonishing thing. That he didn't even grant them parley. But the Irish have done it. Because it's obvious. How could you not? How could you not speak to your own agitated citizens, It's the most obvious thing. I still think that's one of the worst things Justin Trudeau did in his shocking government.
Even Jack Sparrow knew better, that once you invoke the word parley that you're supposed to. That is part of the code.
True.
Even
a
Jack
pirate
Sparrow knew that. But Justin Trudeau obviously doesn't even have the morality of a pirate.
It's true.
Talk about low morals. Here's a chart for you. That's Chorus. Chorus being global. That's global. Global news. 10 years ago, global was a high flyer, a big deal, like over $10 stock. Today, after 10 years of government intervention, it's 3.5 cents. Billions, over $1 billion in debt, just about to restructure. Basically this thing is on a wing and a prayer, and it'll be there at the begging bowl. That's why they're corrupted, right? They're at the begging bowl to the Liberals. They're basically begging for money. This thing, and the executives are still taking money, even as that stock plummeted in the last 2 years. They're taking millions of dollars as they laid off over 25% of their staff. Millions of dollars. You can go read their financials. Go read their MD&A. Millions of dollars in executive bonuses for a job well done. Hey, isn't that just like, as they raid the cupboards, and that's basically what the Liberals are doing now, stealing out of the cupboards as Canadians suffer. So the workforce suffers. Look at that chart. Just take a look at that chart.
It's
Anyway.
just abominable. It's shocking.
And this is them trying to get their shit together. Consolidated revenue decreased 15% over the last quarter from and 17% decreased from year to date. Okay? You can pull up the numbers here, put up their financial highlights. And then we saw it with CBC too. CBC has like 1.7% audience share on their television. Nobody's watching it on television. Yet they act like they're the big deal.
And I'm convinced that most people on YouTube, where they do occasionally get some views on YouTube, I'm convinced that at least half of those views are people that want to get angry. They just want to see what sort of crazy nonsense they've come out with.
Yeah, it's usually picking on them, right? It's usually like, look at this crap. It's not like this is where I turned for honest, reliable news.
Yeah.
Like, look what they're saying now.
Yeah, and that's big business, isn't it? I mean, there's a few accounts on Twitter that just do that. They just basically repost what CBC have said, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" Like, that's like a cottage industry.
Their advertisers have spoken. They don't trust them either. Their advertising keeps falling. 17% last 3 months ended comparatively. 6 months ended comparatively. 17, 15 for the last 3 months. It's bleeding. It's bleeding a hole. And yet they're doing a restructure. And I mean, they basically got a going concern note on their financial statements as well. You know that they're at the government right now asking for more money at Mark Miller's office and saying, look, well, we're doing a good job for you. That interview that the lady from Global did for Mark Carney, I mean, that is the biggest puff piece ever. This is not an honest.
And he was being a bit of a, you know, he wasn't being very nice either, was he, in that interview? So it was pretty much, it was unrequited.
Now, here's one for you and a little bit of tech, because we like to cover some tech too. And I say Elon Musk is the most consequential person on this planet. Look at this comparison of what SpaceX is building. SpaceX is going to IPO this summer. It's going to be the largest IPO ever. And then they just did a sovereign AI stack, who owns what. And SpaceX basically, you know, is like the full stack, right? I mean, they're the only ones that can launch stuff into space. They basically own the space. You know what I mean? Like, if you had to pick a company in the world, a nation in the world, the United States leads space launches only because SpaceX leads space launches. That's the only reason. That's it. It's all about SpaceX.
Didn't they, at some point, the Americans had to go, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think this is true. Fake news. But didn't they at some point have to go to the Russians because they'd lost their own launch capacity? Like, that's how bad it was in America. I'm pretty sure they were.
Elon went there to buy. When he started SpaceX, Elon went there to buy some rockets from the Russians. He said he went there to deal with them, and they said they were laughing at him. He said, I wanted to buy some, basically nuclear missiles that had the warhead taken off.
So I'm just looking now. I've just done it, and it's true. Between 2011 and 2020, NASA astronauts went to space on Russian Soyuz rockets.
There you go.
That's how bad it got, ladies and gentlemen. Whereas now, SpaceX has kind of stepped in. That's pretty, that's a hell of a turnaround, isn't it? And that's definitely something, again, that you have to credit the Americans for. They know how to turn a really, a massive weakness into a huge strength. Another example would be our favorite, where they went from being the world's largest oil importer to the world's largest oil producer in the space of like 15 years or something like that, through the shale revolution. Like, they do, when things get bad, the Americans have got a track record of fixing it.
We do have a, look at that nice traffic shot there. Check that out. Pretty sweet, eh? We're
Nobody going to West Kelowna, huh?
We got a really big salute here for you. We got a couple of salutes. Okay, Hockey Dad, you're losing your mind. You have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to Tesla and SpaceX. So that's, you know, just saying nonsense doesn't make it right. You know what I mean? Is limited liquid cash. Good one.
You're also saying every company has huge debt. Every successful company basically ever has huge debts. That's kind of how the system works.
You don't want to test me on Tesla. So sorry, buddy. Tesla has huge, vast amounts of cash. Tons of cash. They're sitting on tons of cash. So there you go. That's just
how these companies work. You know, we're looking at one of these OpenAI. Look at how much debt they've taken on. You know, that Facebook's and on, they all do that. They borrow capital early on and they run losses early on. Same with Amazon. We've talked about Amazon. Amazon didn't become consistently profitable in a big way until quite recently. You know, while it was still like the most valuable company in the world, it had gigantic amounts of debt. That's how these magnificent seven companies have all done it.
Hockey Guy, don't repeat your tweets because that looks like spam if you're just gonna hit enter twice. Like that looks like you're just like got a bunch of tweets saved up and you're just hitting enter to kind of like dominate the conversation. That's not good, right? Because there's other people who have stuff to say. So don't have like 20 tweets in a row, right? Okay. Just nice, right? So, because if you're going to do that, then we have to put you on silence, right? We don't want to do that. So just be polite. Just like you're in a group. Don't be like screaming at everybody. Just, you know, chill. Another salute here. Artemis going to splash down today. Artemis 2, that's the Boeing rocket. Going to splash down the lander. and that's going to happen at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So there you can go there and you can go nasa.gov/ways-to-watch if you want to watch the splashdown. We'll have it for you on Monday for sure. Look, check out this shot of the moon here. Shot of the moon.
Look at those mares.
Hey, look at that. And then this shot is epic. This is like epic. Epic, epic, epic. Next one. Look at that. Look at that.
Wow.
And then today, in 1912, the RMS Titanic set sail from Southampton on her maiden voyage. Happened today in 1912. A shout out to those, or a salute to the, you know. Lots of really famous people perished in that, including a couple famous British Columbians in that too.
Really?
Mm.
I know one of the most famous journalists
Built the railroad. We talked about just a while ago. The Grand,
He's
what was
dead.
that? The railroad called? That was one that started in British Columbia, Prince Rupert there. Grand National or something like that. He was one of the guys that perished on that ship. One of the guys that built part of the building the railroad for Canada there, from Prince Rupert all the way down to Chicago there. And it sunk in the early hours on April 15th in 1912, hitting an iceberg. That was just off the coast of Newfoundland, no?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's the closest, would be the closest province, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, lots of very rich people perished in that sinking of this unsinkable ship when it left. It was billed as unsinkable, and that's why it didn't have enough lifeboats and all that on it, right? And I think that's what the Liberals think they are right now. They think they're untouchable. They absolutely think they're untouchable. I think that might be their downfall. They believe they are completely untouchable. Hockey Dad, you're making up stuff. Like, you're going to have to stop, because otherwise we're going to have to block you. Like, Elon losing his tech. Just stop. It's just a misinformation machine, right? So I guess the show's almost over, but what he's saying about Elon is not even true. So there's that, right? So
well, he also said earlier on, he was talking about Canada-China trade, and it was just the wrong number.
If people, just because somebody says it in a comment doesn't make it true, right? So I mean, that's the thing about people. They'll say things like, AOC will say things like, Elon is the stupidest person on this planet. He's not even an engineer. Just like come on, man. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Good one. Anyway, is this what's his name? Lightning Rod reborn as Hockey Dad? Is that it? You can block people yourselves. You can block people yourselves. You just have to put the right button. You can block them so you don't have to see the nonsense. So just so you know. And somebody, Fabian Socialist, I don't know. Yeah.
Fabian the back.
I agree. Just don't do drugs. Drugs are hard. Drugs are hard on your mind, right? Don't do drugs. We're gonna be back at noon for members. Hockey Dad, you gotta buy a membership if you want to come back and be an annoyance there. Hey, you gotta pay. You gotta pay to be an annoyance there. Anyway, we'll be back at noon. We're gonna have a scrap to eat. We're gonna have a sausage roll or something. And Elon derangement syndrome. Yeah, the most consequential person on this planet. Yeah, and that's what they have to say, right? That's cool. All right. Until tomorrow, Monday morning, 9 a.m. PST, we'll be back with the Really Big Show. We got some really good interviews next week. And